of everything.
Force in North Africa today is there as a result of invasion. They're not indigenous to the land.
Yeah, hold on. Can I just bring up your point?
Yes.
The mass of the Arabs, a part of the Arabs,
Yes.
originate from the European invasion
Yes.
into Africa.
Yeah.
Because of starvation. I try to tell a lot of these with the Bible running around with the foolishness. The Bible created during that time, the 14th century, when Britain didn't have food.
Yeah.
They were eating each other in this country.
Yeah.
Cannibalism.
Yeah.
Right? And they heard about the Empire of Ghana. Now, most people,
Well, more Mali, sorry, because of Mansa Musa. But yeah, go on, yeah.
most people, I have fights with them around here when they talk about the center of the earth. They all have claim they have education. They don't know where the center of the earth is. The center of the earth is Ghana, in the Guinea Bay of Ghana. And it was an empire where all the Europeans converged to get food.
Yeah, but we're talking about North Africa, we're not talking about West Africa.
Yeah, but
We're talking about
what I'm
North
saying
Africa.
is,
Well, I believe
clear,
that
yeah?
you don't talk about whole of Africa. I believe you
Hold on.
talk about only sub-Saharan Africa.
all right. As far as
Which is the
as far
black
as
dominated.
as far as Pan-Africanism is concerned, you get both sensibilities. Yeah.
So do I fall into that? Can I be part of your community as an African?
It depends on for my particular school of Pan-Africanism.
Yeah.
No, there are other schools of Pan-Africanism that would.
Why do you think I cannot be part of African culture?
In the same for the same
When I'm
reason,
African-
for the same reason why I cannot be part of Muslim, the Muslim Ummah.
Muslim Ummah?
Yes.
You can if you become a Muslim.
Yeah,
you're
and I'm
Muslim.
not a Muslim.
Yeah. But then,
Religion
but then,
is the
but
same
then-
race, that's a conflation.
No. Hey, I'm saying, no. What religion am I? I would define myself as
How
an
are you
African
mixing
spiritualist.
race with religion? Two
I
different
didn't.
things. Two different things.
I'm not mixing anything
I
with
believe
anything.
I'm ethnically.
I'm not mixing
African.
anything with anything.
Yeah,
What I'm talking about is group dynamics. A group can organize around anything. Yeah, so because one group organizes around this and another group organizes around this, it doesn't mean that those two things are the same thing. It just means what's similar is that they organize around a group identity.
Okay.
Right. So what we're talking about, when we say African, we are talking about African people, the people that are indigenous to the land of Africa.
Okay.
That those who dominate in North Africa at the moment are not indigenous to the land. And in fact, listen,
Support your
and
claim.
in fact, well, I don't know. Isn't it?
No, you have to give me evidence.
Isn't it a fact of history?
Do you know
Hold on a minute,
Is it
man.
not a
What's
fact?
wrong with you?
Is it
What,
not?
are you his cheerleader or something? Are you his cheerleader
It
or
is a.
something?
It is a fact.
Are you
of-
a solicitor?
Let's just debate.
Are you a solicitor?
Let's just keep on arguing, man.
Go on.
Finish talking. Slow
Yeah,
down.
it is a fact of history that in the 7th century,
Okay.
Arabs began to invade.
Okay.
Yeah, and there were invasions from Semitic people before that. But we're talking about North Africa at the moment, so I'm making it specific to Arabs. Yeah, from the 7th century into what is now called Egypt, and that went across North Africa. Yeah, and through different flows of history, different people were dominating that. You've got the Bedouins and the Ottomans and various different kinds of people. The Romans were involved in it as well, just what I'm saying. And so the people that are dominating North Africa today are there because of invasion. Yeah, the original people. There are many smaller groups of the original people, inhabitants there. Many of them fled and moved south. So what is into West Africa and parts of Eastern Africa today. You know what I'm saying? So these are things that are historical facts. And yeah, so not even the people that are there argue that they're the indigenous
Could I
people in the
support
land.
a point?
Yeah.
You mentioned the Romans.
Yes.
A lot of people seem to think the Romans or Italians
Yes.
are different from the Africans. Italy, down in the 14th century, was landlocked part of Africa. There were 5 black emperors in Rome.
And then you got to deal with the Moors and so on and so forth.
Right.
Yeah.
No, there were 5 black until the land, nature, separated. Because the story they give about Jesus, the soldiers came from Rome, and they didn't drive in an airplane or a motor car or a bicycle. The Roman soldiers had to walk like animals, like wild animals, like horses. The officers rode a horse, and they walked down from Italy straight into not Tunisia.
Algeria.
No,
Morocco. Libya.
Libya.
Yeah.
They walk into Libya. All the Libyans you see there in North Africa with fair skin, Egypt, go right round to Morocco. These are all invaded Europeans.
But they themselves are not trying to.
Are you telling me a total Yeah, throughout all them countries, I'd say around 120 million are purely invaders. I don't think so, man.
Hold on,
I don't
hold
think
on.
so. I don't think so.
Yeah, now you're changing the argument.
No,
And
I'm
it's not
changing
impossible.
up.
Now you're changing the
There
argument.
cannot be 120 million people in that across
Yeah,
the
it
whole
can.
landscape
They
that are
can.
pure
They
invaders.
can.
It doesn't make sense.
From the 7th century till now, that's
it
entirely
does
possible.
not make sense, bro.
That's entirely possible.
It doesn't make sense.
No,
And
that's
to be
possible.
honest, you guys are talking out of ignorance.
Listen a
100%
minute.
ignorance.
But you haven't brought no evidence, bro.
Because
You haven't brought no evidence, though.
Brother.
You asked for evidence that you
Yeah,
ain't
you
brought
wanna-
none,
you wanna
and
make
you
a
want to
point.
talk about ignorance.
Go on,
That makes no sense.
Listen.
Because when you look at the Berbers were not
Who are
black.
the Berbers? Yes, they
the
were.
Berbers originally were not black. The Berbers were of like similar color to like the Semites. When we say Jesus was not black. Jesus was Semitic, a Semite. Semites were not black nor white. They were like an olive skin color.
Semitic
So was
people are not the
pro-
original people of North Africa.
I'm talking about
So
they were
we're
similar.
talking, I made a statement.
That whole area-
I made a statement that the original indigenous people of North Africa were black, just like the rest of the continent. The people that dominate today,
Okay.
yeah, and the Berbers do not dominate today. The Arabs dominate today. The people that dominate today are invaders to the land.
No, the Berbers.
Okay.
The
The
language.
Berbers
No, there's a
are not
difference.
the dominant. The Berbers are not the dominant people.
There's
in
one
North
standing
Africa.
right in front of you.
Charlie,
There's one
the
standing right in front
Berbers-
of you, bro.
Let me hear what you
There's one standing right in front of you, bro. And I was
What's your
born in
point?
England.
What's
And
your
I'm a
point?
Berber,
What's
right
your
here.
point?
I'm
What's your
just
point?
trying to.
What's that got to do with the statement I made?
No,
I
no,
said
my
I said the
point-
Berbers are not the dominant people in North Africa.
Yes, they are.
You being a Berber
Yes, they are.
is neither here nor there
They
in
are,
that
bro.
consideration.
It's a
Alright,
language spoken by millions,
Cool. Yeah,
millions of
yeah.
people.
What's the dominant language in North Africa?
We can say Arabic officially, yeah.
Well, agree
But
to
that's the
disagree.
language.
Go ahead.
That's the
It's
language.
not Arabic anyway. It's a
Ah,
mixture
the
of
dominant-
everything
Arabic,
else.
Amazigh,
It's not
and French.
Well,
Because
do
of
you hear-
colonialism.
How many
in
countries?
Algerian, Arabic and
How
shit.
many countries in North Africa are part of the Arab League?
Pretty much all of them.
Okay.
Apart from
on, say what you
even
said.
Mauritania, which is black, by the way.
Go on, say
A
what you
black
said.
country, by the way.
There's many black
No,
people in
I'll
North
just
Africa,
say-
and they're oppressed.
I'll say that. If the debate we originally were talking about the conflation of race and religion. Now,
That's not what we were originally talking about.
Well,
that
I was
came
saying-
into the
well,
conversation.
That's what came into the conversation. This is how we got onto where people originate from. So are you saying you only consider people African if their blood is complete and their lineage is completely African with
Exactly.
them born?
Exactly.
Are you two saying that, for example, because for example, in my opinion,
What's the
I have lots of
definition
black
of a
friends.
European?
I have lots of black friends.
Yes.
For me, they are no more or less English than the next white guy to me if they've been born here in terms of their mannerisms, how they act. So what I'm saying is, what is your point if just because they're not, their whole lineage is not pure African, does that not mean they're any more or less of an African if they are born
Yeah.
there and have family there?
All right.
That's the-
European.
Now let me.
Bro, by the way,
How do you know? How do you know it's not 1%?
I don't listen.
Hold on, man.
All right.
How
I'm
do you
not
know
interested.
he's not 1%?
I'm not
How do you know he doesn't have 1% white man in him? How do you know?
Is
You-
he a European?
Hold on, hold on,
How
hold
do you
on.
know? How do you know?
Hold on.
How do you know he doesn't have 1% European?
Yeah, I want to answer the
How do you
question.
know?
I want to answer the question. Like, I want to answer the question. One second. I want to
How
answer
do
the
you
question.
know?
I want to answer the question.
See
I
what
want
I
to answer the
mean?
question. I was explaining to the gentleman about schools of thought in Pan-Africanism. I said there are some schools of thought that believe that the sub-Saharan quote-unquote Africa and North Africa should consolidate as one body, as it is right about now. There's another school in Pan-Africanism which I come from,
Either.
which says
Yeah.
which says that those who dominate in North Africa today are invaders, and North Africa is a part of the continent, and the indigenous people of that land, yeah, have the rights to that land, not the people that currently dominate it. There is no difference in this scenario to what is going on in South Africa today. We are, in our history, yeah, have a precedent of people invading, settling, and then trying to co-opt identity. Yeah, the white people that are in South Africa and Zimbabwe, Southern Africa in general, yeah, never identified as African until there was a strategic benefit in it. Yeah, just like many of the people in North Africa today. Generally speaking, they don't define themselves as African until there is a strategic benefit in it. Right? So I'm saying, I am saying the African identity, the Pan-African movement comes about principally around the agenda, the issues pertaining to black African people who were invaded, colonized, enslaved.
So was North
yeah?
Africa. North Africa was colonized a lot longer than Sub-Saharan Africa.
Oh my gosh.
And there was the death toll was higher in North Africa than Sub-Saharan Africa.
This guy.
When it came to colonialism.
This guy.
Then when it came to colonialism.
You make these statements.
You just condemn the system.
No, I didn't condemn no system.
Condemn it.
Stop talking over each other. We're not going to have a debate.
This is what I'm trying to say. I'm not in that, you know.
Well, just
So
5
yeah.
seconds. Let him speak.
I'm just passionate.
Let's have a debate. Let's have a debate.
Cool.
Let me just ask one question. I think you've been speaking here about things that don't really matter that much. Instead of trying to pinpoint who exactly is part of that movement.
Was you here from the beginning of the conversation?
What is,
Right, so you're not in a position to
Wait,
explain.
listen to you. Let him speak.
Yeah.
what is the purpose of your movement? That's what really matters.
I asked him.
What is it?
Okay, I asked him. He said he follows a Pan-African movement, and I said to him, I believe that movement.
You didn't ask me what the purpose of my movement is. You
No,
asked me
you
if
said
you'll be included.
Yeah, if I'm included, I asked him if I'm
I'd
included.
focus free
Because I said to
speech.
him,
Free
because I said to
speech.
him,
He's not running an organization out
You'll
here.
end up covering it if you shout over.
one second.
I'm looking on.
I said, yeah, I believe, yeah, that it only applies for Sub-Saharan Africa, not all North Africa. He said, yeah, he believes North Africans are pure invaders. I said to him, you're not simply saying
all of
yeah,
them
a
are
population of
Afro-African.
120 million people.
Hello, how are you,
landscape
sir?
is
How are you?
invaders. It doesn't make sense, yeah? That's what I said to him. And he said to me,
talk to you
yeah,
afterwards.
he said, yeah, does he have European in him? I said to him, how do you know he doesn't have 1% European in him? So, how do you know? Do you know they have
But what
1%
to you
European?
defines as European? Because what we're having a debate about here
Yeah.
is what fundamentally means European. Because
You know what's interesting to me? Let me, fully. But this is my point. This is my point. Yeah, this is my point. All right. The Pan-African movement comes about, yeah, to address the issues of African people in relation to invasion, enslavement, and colonization. Yes, these are specific people. The Arabs are invaders. They're part of that invasion process. Just because the Europeans came after them, yeah, it doesn't make them any less invaders. That just means that they're the longest invaders on the land, and they still exercise privilege, yeah, in North African nations
No,
today.
that's not
As a
correct. result, yeah, of the Facts are wrong.
benefit of that invasion. That's a reality. So, within the school of Pan-Africanism, there is a debate that goes on. Some believe that, in the concept that has been called continentalism, which basically means that, yeah, we recognize that they're invaders, but they've been there for long, let's forget about their invasion. There's another school that says, no, we can't forget about their invasion. Actually, in fact, there are Africans in Algeria, there are Africans in Libya, there are Africans in Mauritania who still experience discrimination and oppression today from this Arab majority.
And
we need to be represented
Saudi
in their
Arabia.
issues. And Saudi Arabia.
And Saudi
What's it
Arabia.
called?
Much more
Right.
in Saudi Arabia.
that's not
Right?
true. That's not true.
Yeah, but
That's not true.
The fact
Because
that
it's not
the
true.
fact
Okay,
that
I'll
you
let
say
you
it ain't
finish.
true
And then I'll
doesn't
come back later.
right? No, and so the point is that the point is that
we're having a debate.
so the point is that a Pan-Africanist, the Pan-African movement is allowed to define what constitutes and what the goals and the aims of the Pan-African movement is. That's the long and short of it. And if you're asking me about the aims of the Pan-African movement, it's the liberation of African people.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you think the next
I'll
wave
go
of
after you.
colonization
I
in
said to him,
Africa
yeah,
is going to come from China? I live in South Africa and I travel.
Another subject, we'll come back to that in a
Well,
bit.
one second, yeah.
I'll go after
He's
you.
wrong.
Either an empire or you're part of
He's
something.
wrong, but it's facts. Because he said, yeah, North Africans are pure Arab invaders. It's not true. Because when the Arabs came in the 7th century, they never came in order
Has
to...
he been right about anything since he
No,
started
no,
speaking?
it's not right. It's not right. It's not right. Because they came to spread the language. They came. What is Arab
Spread
invasion?
what? Sorry, spread what?
What was Arab invasion famous for when it came to North Africa? The spread of Islam. That's what it was famous for, yeah? So what the
Interesting.
difference between Arab invasion and French invasion? The French came into North Africa, they oppressed. They killed people and whatnot, and they murdered. If it wasn't for the North African revolt, Algeria was one of the countries that started decolonization of Africa. What a surprise, yeah? And these people
What
are not
you all
black.
fail
These
to
people
realize-
are not black according to them, yeah? They're the ones who started
What
the
you all fail to
decolonization of
realize,
Africa.
what you all fail to
One second.
realize,
Why am I getting cut
all
off?
Why you don't
invasion.
let him speak?
Why you not letting me to?
Why
It's
you
the
don't let
truth,
him
innit?
speak?
It's the
Let
truth.
him finish.
It's the truth,
You
yeah?
said it, but you're going wrong.
There's the truth
You're
out.
going wrong.
There's the truth out.
You're going wrong.
There's the truth out.
Be civilized. Be
There's the truth out. There's the truth out.
Be civilized.
We're having a good debate. We're having a good debate. No shout.
Amazigh of the Berber language is an indigenous.
Slavery. Started from
One second,
starvation.
one second. Amazigh, which is an indigenous language in Africa spoken by people that look like me, yeah? This language is indigenous and it goes back for generations. Yes, he's right though. However, Europeans did come into North Africa and they did intermix. But these people were not a majority. It was only a minority that came in. Because in the 14th century, in Andalus in Spain, when the Jews were being killed by the Catholics, it was the Islamic Empire in North Africa that allowed them to immigrate. And they came in, and we all know in Islamic tradition that a Muslim man can marry a Jewish woman. So we could say that they had difference in terms of DNA and they didn't intermix. But it doesn't make them any less African. It doesn't make them any less African. These people are ignorant. I'm telling you, they're ignorant. Because Africa, I believe, is not only a black continent. Africa is not a black...
Let us speak, let us speak.
About him.
Let us speak, let us speak.
He said some things about...
Oh, even though I'm one person still, I'm one person still. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Jump in
Anyway, look, guys.
I'm almost finished. This is like a summary now, yeah? I believe, yeah, that Africa is not just a black continent. It's a continent full of different colors and different people of different ethnicities, yeah? Yes.
No.
Yes.
It's black people. Cut it out.
Okay, well, everyone's black then. Everyone's black then.
Bullshit now. Cut the
Are you that
bullshit
ignorant?
out. All the whites that went into Africa
Are you that
was for
ignorant?
fucking food. Starvation in fucking Europe, the Ice Age. Don't bring your bullshit to me. Don't bring your bullshit to me.
People that did that are not the same as the people today.
The whole fucking Britain, the whole of Europe was fucking starving.
In Europe,
One thing.
be in Africa, why are you in Europe?
Hello.
I'll tell you what, Pavlov.
You're cutting the branch. You're cutting the branch you're sitting on.
I'm finishing.
Oh, sorry, finish. Go ahead, finish.
Okay, cool. Alright, cool. Before he speaks here, before any of you lot speak, I'll give you one historical fact here. In Algeria, when the French Empire came, they never classified Algerians as white. They never classified them as white, yeah? So this is one of my evidences, yeah, that when Europeans came, what my point is that North Africans and Europeans are not the same. Two different ethnicities, and North Africa was colonized majority than sub-Saharan Africa. Compared. And the death toll is a lot higher in North Africa than Sub-Saharan Africa.
We're finished.
That's what I'm telling. That's it. I'm done.
I'll just quickly address this. I think what you're having here is a discussion of semantics. You're not actually arguing about anything very relevant. It's a question of semantics.
I'm not arguing at all.
Wait. You're calling yourself the Pan-African movement. You're saying that only black people are part of the Pan-African movement.
You're right.
Is that correct or is that not correct?
You're right.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's not what I said.
I think everybody understood.
What I said was.
His brand of Pan-Africanism.
Like
Go ahead,
wife,
repeat what you
can I
said.
ask you a question? My wife is a mixed race South African from Cape Town. She's a descendant from the Xhosa and the Malay slaves which were brought over by the Dutch.
Yes.
She identifies 100% as African. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't take that away from her at all. I completely
That's what I'm
accept
trying to
that.
establish.
Right,
Look, just
You
tell
take
me
away
again
from
what
120
your
million
main
of
point
Can I
is.
just say something? I think that's the crux of this debate. The
It's not-
difference between what people perceive as ethnicity and race. What people perceive as belonging in a country. What people perceive as deserving to be that country. What people perceive as allowing to say you're from somewhere is completely confused in between all of us. And that is the problem where you're not getting into it. Because you say if race and ethnicity is wherever you live, wherever you adopted the culture, etc. You say it's where you're in blood from. That is the confusion, and you need to figure out and you need to debate what ethnicity and race means, or you're not going to get anywhere.
This conversation,
Because that's a word that is
this
not being
conversation
used very
ends for me if we begin to analyse, the experiences of indigenous Africans in North Africa. Yeah, the people that are dominating there at the moment clearly know that them and the people that they're dominating are not the same people.
So let's not shift the conversation that
No. That's not shifting the conversation.
Let's not go that way. Let's not go that way.
I
Just repeat your...
I know you have blonde hair, but you know when you come to the conversation late, it's best to try and figure out where the conversation's been before you make statements.
What's this got to do with this?
I didn't say any of what you're saying. I didn't even
I'm
mention
making a
North
satirical
Africa.
statement about white supremacy.
You're being a politician.
So you have an agenda.
Bro,
I have an agenda. Yeah, of course I have an agenda.
Wait,
My
wait,
agenda
To be
is
honest,
Africa.
everyone has an agenda.
Exactly. So
Everyone has an agenda. So
I
we know
was the
this.
one who insisted on each person having their turn.
Yeah, he was genuine.
Go
He was
ahead.
genuine.
I'm not going to suffer for speaking.
Listen, I didn't mention anything about North Africa yet.
Yes.
Yet.
That is
So
the
you
I
were
wasn't
saying
responding. I
that.
wasn't responding to you. But yeah, go ahead.
Why did you speak to me then?
Because of the statement that you made just before in terms of the quality of the conversation and the explanation.
Just tell me again, just quickly say it again. What does your movement stand for? What are the people that you are trying to unite? What are the people that make part of your movement? Say that again.
Black African people, the liberation of Africa and the African
That's the
continent.
problem because black African people is different to both of them. That's
Wait,
the
let him
problem.
just let
No,
him
because
finish.
I've
Let
been
me finish.
brainwashed.
Is that it? Yes. Black African people. And you call yourself Pan-African.
Yes.
Okay. Then you shouldn't call yourself Pan-African.
Why?
Because there's three main races: Caucasoid, Negroid, and Mongoloid.
Okay.
You know about it, don't you? Africa is
I'm
not
familiar
only.
Negro is not a
designation.
race.
I'm
Negro is not a race.
I'm familiar with the designation, but go ahead.
Negro is not
fair
a
enough.
race.
It's
It's
good
a
that
European
everybody is
connotation
familiar.
about Negro.
Now, Africa, as they said, is composed by more than just Negroid race.
Yes.
It's composed by partially Caucasoids in north. Now, Caucasoids can be white people, they can be Middle Easterners, they can be many different sub-races. Just like blacks have many different sub-races, many different, ethnicities of blacks.
Yes.
Like Hutus, Tutsis, Somalians, Ugandans, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
You name it. You would know it better than I do. But either way, you should call yourself Pan-Negroid organization, not Pan-African organization. Because you're assuming that all of Africa is yours. It's not yours. Now, with the same luck, I can say, oh, I'm a Pan-European, you guys, all of you piss off. I'm not even English, but I'll just call myself Pan-European. I'll just speak for all of the Europeans without me being part of all the sub-races in
Yeah, it
Europe.
makes no
and
sense.
I'll just,
Exactly.
it makes no sense.
How are you going to define? Are you familiar with the evolution of Pan-Africanism as an ideology and a
Evolution of what?
movement? Of Pan-Africanism as an ideology and a movement? Are you familiar with it?
But you're
I'm
not
not
answering his
familiar with
question.
its
No.
origin.
Right.
What I am
in
familiar
order
with,
in order to make a judgment on the sense or nonsensicality, yes, or a particular ideology, you'd have to know something about its evolution. So I'm saying you're not in a position to make that judgment.
I don't think you do. I think if you know the fundamental point of an ideology, then you can have a debate on it. Feminism has evolved as an ideology.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Fundamentals of what
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
I understand
You don't understand what I'm saying.
Explain to us the theory of evolution.
Let me just answer this.
They're disregarding the race of black people.
Right.
We're talking about Negro.
If you're gonna-
No,
Negro
no,
race.
Well,
no,
listen,
it's
once
the opposite.
again,
You're
once
disregarding regarding the race of other people in Africa.
What?
That
What
don't
other
look like
people?
you.
The white
That's what-
people were fucking invaders. Starvation, hunger invaded Africa for food.
Let me ask you this.
Well,
Let me ask you this.
fuck all
Let me
along,
ask you
man.
this.
Other than fucking
There are Caucasoids in Southern
robbery.
Africa.
Southern Africa.
Yes.
We forgive you.
Why did you not
Forgive
Why did
you.
you not include them in your analysis just now?
In my analysis, I might as well include them.
You might as well include them.
No, he
yeah?
did say that other people,
Don't
they just
try to
didn't
buy
mention
it.
No,
it.
he-
North Africa,
mentioned the
because
North,
in
yeah.
North Africa is
I'm
the
saying-
biggest
Even the
concentration
English,
of
when the English went to
non-Negroids
South
live
Africa,
in Africa.
Right.
I think you might agree with
Right,
that.
but I'm saying, but I'm asking the question. Why?
Exactly. No, we're not
Why?
Yes, thank you. That was my point. That was
You know what's interesting to me?
He was even in the convo and he said
What's interesting to me, right,
there's
is
no-
that
Africa is a
when it comes to this thing, yeah,
multicolored continent.
people are only concerned with who and what is defined as African when black African people decide to organize and unify around the Pan-African agenda. Yeah, before that, nobody concerned about nobody concerned about being African. Nobody
How'd you
wants to be
know that?
African.
How'd you know
right?
that?
But what do you mean?
How do you know that? How'd you know that?
Abdel Nasser was part of Pan-Africa.
So I'm saying this guy. I
How'd you know? What do you mean this guy,
don't know.
Don't laugh at him. Show him some respect. He hasn't lied.
I'm showing him some respect. I
You have
haven't
to.
respect.
one last
You think
question.
you're
I haven't
morally
respected him
above
at
him in the
all.
way
I just
you're
have one
I haven't
last
respected him at
question.
all.
I just have
I
one
haven't
last
respected
question.
anybody at all.
I just have
Listen, I might not be the same colours, yeah,
I've
but I'm
responded
proud
to
to be
everything that he
African.
said.
Simple,
I've
innit?
answered everything
Africa
that
is
he
not just
said.
about black people. Exactly, that's it. We're all brothers and sisters. We all should unite as
You
a
know,
continent.
you notice here.
We all should unite as a
You're
continent.
pulling me up for respect here. You notice here. When he's spoken, I haven't interrupted him.
You did a few
Yeah,
times,
you know,
but that's fine.
right?
If you wanna
But
talk,
consistently,
interrupt him.
but
If you wanna
consistently,
talk, you can
right?
talk.
So it's not. I'm not fighting for it.
But do you know
I
why?
don't actually have to have
Because
this
if you
conversation.
discredit his whole
but I'm not-
idea of who he is, obviously he's going to
Excuse
get
me.
offended.
Excuse me.
That's all you've done for the
Excuse
last
me.
half an hour.
Excuse me.
Discredit his
Excuse
idea,
me.
his identity.
Excuse me.
Obviously he's going to get offended.
Excuse
But
me.
why are you expecting?
This is what I'm trying to say. I never said for.
Algeria's got the second.
I never said for the guy, you know. The gentleman came and asked me a question about my ideology. I gave him an answer, and he chooses to take offense to the answer. I can't
So
legislate
try
for
to
that.
discredit me as an African. Go on. Try to discredit me as African. Second strongest military in
Then-
Africa.
You know what's interesting, yeah? Challenge the level of arrogance that is coming through right now. Can you imagine?
But
Yeah?
did you not show me
Hold on,
arrogance?
hold
Did
on.
you not
All
show me
right.
arrogance?
arrogance. You
Well, you're not showing me arrogance.
You came over here.
This is what I'm trying to say. The guy came, right? And he asked me a question. I'm trying to go like a victim at the moment. Yeah?
Look,
Listen.
I don't,
Let me show you
I don't have to
something.
be black to be
Let me show you something.
I don't have to be black
Let
to
me
be
show you
Afro.
something. Let me show
I
you
don't have to be
something.
black.
Let me show
I
you
don't have to be
something.
black to be Afro.
Let me show you something. Let me show you
What do
something.
you mean our struggles? So do you speak for 120 million people now in North Africa?
Am I European?
How do you know you don't have European
Am I
DNA?
a European?
Okay, do you know whether you have European DNA?
Am I European? My mum is white. Am I European?
Okay, where's your mum from? Where's your mum originally from?
It's a silly conversation, bro. I can't even.
We're not talking
Because
about
he asked me, you know, he asked me about Pan-Africanism as an ideology. Yes? And I'm,
Sorry, let me ask you, what are you against Pan-Africanism? What bothers you about it?
It doesn't bother me. He said to me he believes, that North Africa is not. Did he say North Africa is not part of Africa? Or do you see the people?
themselves
You don't consider
well, the
North
name
Africans
sounds
Africa.
quite inaccurate.
what I said was,
if you ask me.
what I explained was that within the ideology of Pan-Africanism, there are two debated principles. One says the continent as it is should unify. The other says that no, the people that dominate North Africa are invaders and oppressors, just like the people that dominated Southern Africa. Yes? Right? And so as a result of that, that is a situation that needs to be settled. So we don't.
I'm Arab North African. Let me ask you one question. Earlier you said my people came to Africa. So your people not indigenous? Like earlier you're trying to say indigenous. If you come to our land,
I never said that.
I established this long ago, you know. And he told me that I was being false. I was talking
I never said that. I said that when the French came,
Arabs as well.
no, the
French.
Arabs.
No, wait.
You all of a sudden-
Let him finish with the French thing. I want to come to this French thing. Go ahead.
When the
Do the
French came,
Yeah, go on.
they removed North Africa off Ottoman rule because it was Ottoman rule during that time. Now, the Ottomans were there purely based on trade purposes, no other reason. The Amazigh or the Berber people were indigenous there no matter what.
The Ottomans were there for trade.
They were there for
So
trade.
they weren't invaders, no?
No, they weren't invaders. They moved the people.
But this is what I'm trying to say. Like, your argument finished. Your argument done. Your argument
They
done.
never intermixed.
Stop arguing.
They never
Defend the
intermixed with the
argument
locals.
done. Your argument done.
The Ottomans.
They never intermixed with the locals.
They were invaders. And look where Algeria is. The point that is being made, the point that is being made is that the point that is being made, alright, go on, finish. Let him finish.
I said they never intermixed with the locals.
Why?
They were there as
The indigenous people, not locals, indigenous.
look.
Live there.
Okay, can we agree
I
on
mean,
this?
locals means indigenous.
I agree with you.
There,
I
I'm
agree with you.
born.
I agree with you.
You
Go
don't
ahead.
want to mix
Don't
it
let
up.
me finish.
No, it's
Don't let me finish.
Finish. Let him finish.
Let me finish.
Who are they?
Charlie,
What colour do they go?
bro, let him finish.
Brother, I'm going to show you someone else that thinks he's a Berber that's not like you. So who am I going to believe?
Fam, the Berber issue is a complex one. The Berber issue is a very complex one. That's why he's using it. But go ahead.
I know.
Let him speak.
What do
Let
you
him
mean
finish.
the Berbers?
Let him finish.
There's white Berbers
Really?
and there's black Berbers, by the way.
Before Lucy, before all these people, they were 2 million years ago.
There's black Berbers.
Okay, you're going the wrong way.
Let him finish,
I
let him
still
finish.
didn't get the
Let him
answer
finish.
to the question.
I'm letting him finish.
What makes you call
letting him
yourself
finish.
Pan-African
Anyways.
and not Pan-Negroid?
Yeah, I'll let
Okay,
him
brother,
finish.
I just
I'm
want to
letting
make
him
a point, yeah? Can we agree, yeah?
That's the only question that matters in this
With
environment.
all due respect, with all due respect, Uncle Danjuma done dealt with you already still. So let's go.
Can we establish that there's the natives and there's the invaders, yeah? The invaders came purely...
Who are they?
Okay, so the
Name who
invaders...
they are. Who are the invaders?
The invaders...
Who are they?
Let him finish.
Invaders, we say in North Africa were the Romans, the Ottomans and the French, yeah? These are the most recent ones.
And that's how you got that
So
line.
the Ottomans, the invaders are the Ottomans, and the natives are people like me who were living there, among who were under the people who were captured.
Modern day North Africans.
Modern day North Africa is for example, my great grandfather as a local living there, and the Ottomans who were Turks who were ruling the country. Yeah?
also the
who passed
Bedouins.
laws and whatnot and trade and whatever. Yeah. And then they removed it off the Ottomans and the French came. Now the French were oppressive regime. They classified me
Speaking about your team, that's what I'm saying.
North Africa. North Africa. Talk about North Africa. They never classified me as white. If I was living in Algeria under colonial French, they wouldn't classify me as white.
Algeria, mine, me.
North Africa.
It doesn't matter.
North
What
Africa,
you're
yeah?
talking
So
about
what I'm trying to say,
doesn't matter.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
now Sub-Saharan Africa faced the same oppression
Endless
as North Africa did.
He'll
The
say,
whole of
we're
Africa
not the
suffered the same
perpetuators,
oppression.
the other ones are the perpetuators.
Colonization.
He'll say, no, you're the invader, you're the
Stripped of
invader,
natural
you're the invader.
resources and whatnot, yeah? So what I'm trying to say is that I believe that Africa is a unified continent regardless of the colour.
Yeah.
That's my
All right.
point.
Now let me expose the hypocrisy of what he's saying. All right. He came in the conversation to challenge me about the fact that when I say Pan-Africanism, I'm only dealing with Sub-Saharan Africa and I'm not including North Africa.
You agreed with
And I did agree with
Why?
it. Right? No, hold on. I agree with it in the sense of not necessarily the land, but the dominant peopling of North Africa is not included in what I deal with. Yes, there are African people in North Africa who are very much included in what I'm dealing with. Now, I asked him a question. How many of the nations in North Africa are members of the Arab League? Yeah?
Pretty much all of them.
Pretty much all of them, he said. When North Africa talks to itself, it doesn't include Sub-Saharan Africa. That's true. Yeah?
Morocco is not part of
Right?
the EU.
Right? It's what I'm saying. Right? Hold on. So the North Africa, the people that dominate North Africa have defined a separation between themselves
And the rest of Africa.
and what they call Sub-Saharan Africa already. So to come in here and accuse me of making a separation is pure hypocrisy. Because you know that already.
Algerian friend.
Hold on. There's nothing that I just said that he don't already know.
I know. He knows
Right? So he knows it already. So the point is, don't come to me.
You can't compare the governments to the people.
Oh, Charlie.
He thought you didn't know it.
This is the point I'm trying to make. What happened? Yeah. What happened? In Libya. Yeah. With regards to the people of Chad. Yeah. The black people. Yeah. In the southern part of Libya when they were moved out of Libya. There were Nigerians in Libya who were moved out as well. What about for that? What's happening in Mauritania? Hold on. What's happening in Mauritania today? Where are the black people in Algeria and Libya and Mauritania?
And Morocco.
Yeah? Do the people that you're saying are African in North Africa consider those people who they are oppressing their brothers and sisters?
No.
Their African brothers and sisters?
No.
Hell no.
Hell no.
So if
We
the
all know
Pan-Africanist, if the Pan-Africanist comes and says, you know what, we see that situation,
Let's talk about
and we hear the voices of our brothers and sisters in those nations, and we develop a movement for our liberation and the liberation of our brothers and sisters in those nations, who are you to tell us that it's wrong? Who are you?
Uncle, he's getting a bit passionate still.
Of course.
You talk
Of course. It's a passionate subject.
I'm passionate as well.
Guys,
And I'm comfortable in my passion.
I just got
It's a beautiful African passion.
one question.
Tell them one.
No, wait.
Tell them one.
Last
It's a
question.
beautiful
Last
Pan-African
question.
passion.
Whether I get answered or not, you guys
I don't
have
mind.
fun.
I don't mind
You guys
asking a
have fun.
question.
Whether you,
My Somali
whether
African
you answer or
brother.
not.
Yes, my Somali African brother. Greetings. Blessings. My Somali African brother. My Somali African brother.
Anyway, my question is, my question is, why do you call yourself Pan-African movement instead of calling yourself Pan-Negroid movement? Why?
Right. Before I answer the question, one second. Before I need you to.
Mate, shut up.
I need you to.
Stay in Denmark and keep his ass up there.
I need
Stay
you
up
to.
in Denmark and we will stay down in Africa.
Great country, Denmark. I'll go there some way.
Yeah, we
someday.
don't want you around the place.
Yeah, sure.
I need you to explain to me why African as an identity is illegitimate in relation to black people.
Because there's other races.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Right. So you're saying that because the continent is called Africa, that black people cannot stake claim to the identity of African.
They can't stake claim over Africa. Because not all Africa belongs to the black people.
Listen to what I said. The Pan-African movement, yeah, is not confined to the borders of the African continent. There are Africans all over the world. Yes? So I'm saying to you, African is an identity as far as the Pan-African movement is concerned. Yes? So you have to explain to me now why African is an illegitimate identity as far as it relates to black people.
I'll explain.
Go on.
Well, because there's people that are not blacks that
Yes.
were there,
Yes.
and they were not invaders.
Yes.
And if you think they were invaders, you have a very poor knowledge of history.
Break it down.
I won't speak about you. I'll
Break it
speak
down.
about the Numidians.
Yes.
I'll speak about the Carthaginians.
Yes.
I'll speak about the Egyptians,
Carthage.
who were not black.
Carthage.
None of them were black.
This is what I'm trying to say. I don't understand.
Mental illness, Shaka.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Dealing with
You're gonna bring
mental
me.
illness.
They were not black. Egyptians were not black.
Do you know how long? Do you know how long people have invaded Africa?
Sorry?
Do you know how long people have been invading Africa?
How long? What?
People have been invading Africa.
How long people have been invading Africa?
Millennia.
Pretty long, yeah. People have migrated from place to place,
Yeah.
like forever.
But migration does not make one indigenous, does it?
Migration doesn't make one indigenous.
Yes, if I migrate from here to somewhere else, am I indigenous to that land?
Depends how long you're going to stay.
Yeah, but no.
Nobody grow
No matter
up
how
the
long
same.
no matter
Nobody grow up like a
no
tree.
matter how long I stay there, I am not indigenous.
You want
You
me to answer
are.
Alan?
No, I'm not.
Nobody
That's
grow
not what
up
indigenous
from the
means.
soil.
That's not what indigenous
Human
means.
history have been
Bro,
traveling
Africa.
from
Wait.
place
That's
to
not.
place.
That's not.
That's
wait
wrong
for
way. You will
origin.
never prove
Which
anything
Africa?
to him if you go that
What
way.
country are you from
You need
originally?
to-
Why do you think
So
people
it's like
grow from
trick
one
question. You
place?
know why? It's a trick question. You know why?
Don't tell me
It's a trick question. You know why?
Don't tell me Caribbean.
It's a trick question. You know why?
If you say Caribbean,
You're gonna anticipate my answer. I told you Africa. So why you say me don't take the Caribbean? I told you Africa.
where you from originally? Where you from originally?
Africa.
If you ask me where I'm from originally, I say Algeria,
He's
which is in
pan-Negro.
Africa. Where are you from originally?
Pan-Negro,
Alright.
not Pan-African.
Pavlov.
from originally?
Let me deal with this question for a second, yeah? What you said was.
Okay, where your parents from?
No, listen. He asked me a question, where am I from originally? I said Africa. He said to me, if I ask him where he's from originally, he said Algeria. Yeah? How did the country of Algeria come about? It's in Africa, but is Algeria an indigenous nation to the African continent? No.
Whoa. How can you say that? How can you say that?
All right,
You cannot speak for 41
I'll
million
break it down. You yourself, you see, this is what happens here when people bring things into the conversation and they don't know what they're talking about. You yourself brought
He
into
doesn't know what he's
play.
doing. He doesn't want to accept it.
Hold on.
Arrogant is not
You
gonna let him
yourself,
accept that.
you
It's the
yourself,
Algerian in you doesn't
you
want to accept
yourself,
that.
yeah, you yourself. One second.
Ma'alesh.
One Somali brother, you yourself.
That's the Arab in him.
Hold on.
Won't let that.
Hold
Me
on.
and you.
I agree.
You can talk to
But
these
hold
guys
on.
in a certain way, but you can't talk to Somali
Hold on.
right now in a certain
Hold on.
way.
Hold on.
Me.
You look more
The guy he brought in, yeah.
Again, no.
He brought in, yeah.
Arabs are very different.
East Coast. East Coast,
Let me
baby.
make the point.
How far?
I'm a Muslim and I'm a Sunni.
Let me make the point.
That's the main thing. Just make it. And I love you for the sake of Allah.
Let me make the point. He brought in Algeria, right? And I'm saying that, and he also brought in the French invasion. If he knew anything, yeah, about French colonialism, he would know that the country that we now call Algeria was created specifically to facilitate French imperialism. Yeah?
Yes.
At the Berlin Conference of 1884, 1885, that is where 98% of the borders in Africa today were drawn up. So you are not. So Algeria is not even an indigenous nation in Africa. So therefore, you cannot be indigenously Algerian. It doesn't even make sense.
Whoa.
It doesn't even make sense.
Whoa. So, was it only North Africa that was carved into borders, or was the entire of Africa carved into borders? Because Belgium took a stake in Congo as well, which was carved up. So you're trying to tell me that Congo is not just to Africa as well, because the borders were carved up?
And Nigeria the same.
Weak argument, bro. Weak argument, bro.
Africa is
All right,
huge.
let's do it then. Let's do it
Weak
then.
argument.
Let's
In
do it then.
Africa, there was no borders.
Let's do it then. No.
I have to give him that one.
No.
I have to give you that one.
Masabali brother, hear my response before you get to him.
Okay, sorry.
Right? He's wrong.
Okay, go on.
He's wrong again.
Okay, go.
Congo, as we know it today. You remember there's two different Congos at the moment. you know?
What? DC and then Brazzaville.
Okay.
That river
Then there is
splits
also Angola, yes.
them. Angola underneath.
Okay,
them,
all right, and even some of the parts of Rwanda and so on and so forth
Yeah.
were considered
And
part of the Congo
The Congo.
kingdom.
Yes.
Congo, as we know it today, did not exist. The colonizer simply took the name from the people and called it that name.
Yeah.
The
Same thing happened to
Congo,
Algeria.
the Congo Free State. Listen, oh come on.
Same thing happened to Algeria. It was given by French.
Give him a second.
by
Give
French.
him a second.
Go on.
So no, the nation that we now call Congo today is not an indigenous country. The kingdom is indigenous and took up more than what we call Congo today. So no, you haven't made any strong point. No strong point whatsoever.
Even did you know that there was monarchy and kingdoms in Algeria that were indigenous to Africa as well?
Yeah.
Like the Berber Queen. The Berber
Lord
Queen.
have mercy.
She was
I
indigenous
think
to
your
Africa.
Berber and our
She
Berber
was-
is totally different.
she was
That's the
indigenous
thing.
to
When we
Africa.
establish
but
who
the
was the
Berber,
Berber.
but the
They
point is
tweet
that
it if they want
the point is that the Berber issue is a complex one, and that's why he keeps using it, because he knows it's complex.
But that's why I am
Because
in
there
it,
are some
so-
people
Apparently, that's what you think you are.
Man's Qabela.
That's what you think you are. That's what you think you are.
This is what I'm trying to say. He tried it. He tried it.
More ammunition to shoot back at you. Because we were there, yeah, we came there. Before us, after us, they came other people who were the actual people who were not white. That will only make them go back in time. Now the problem here is you can only go back, guys, wait. This is important. This is the most important thing that nobody spoke about. Nobody here, wait, guys, calm down. Nobody mentioned this.
Yes.
Okay.
The Berbers were there before. The name Africa is taken from the name of a Berber tribe.
That's not in
Tunisia.
That's not in this. That's not in this. That's not in this.
People that look like me, bro. People that look like me, bro.
That's questionable. But that's not in this.
I got curly hair as well. You got curly hair as well.
This is the point. This is the point that's being made. This is the point that's being made. Yeah. This is the point that's being made. This is the point that's being made.
They are not black even. It's called black Africans.
He's laughing.
Okay.
I'm laughing myself, man.
All right. Let's locate ourselves historically. Let's make some historical references. Let's make some historical references. The earliest people we have in history that were non-Negroids in Africa, of which we have, artifacts of, are the Numidians and the Egyptians. They are the two peoples that were non-Negroids that were in Africa. And we have no historical evidence of any other Negroids living in that specific land before them. If you don't have any historical evidence of Negroids living in those lands before they were not blacks. They were not black. Egyptians were not black.
I hear you. One second.
Now, if you don't have,
let me finish. I'm not going to stop you. I need to answer a question.
Let me finish.
Literally
5 words. A few words. Just. If you don't have any historical evidence of people of Negroids who lived there before them, then your whole argument is flawed.
You don't have any evidence.
Do you?
One second.
I wouldn't present it to you because you're
Can you tell us
ignorant.
about this flag?
Wait, hold on. I have to ask a question.
Of course I
I have to ask a question. The people who, the designation that you've given me, Negroid. All right,
Negroid.
First of all, what were the people? You mentioned
Egyptians, Numidians.
Numidians, yeah, and they were where? They were where on the continent?
In North Africa.
In North Africa, yeah.
Numidians are Libyans,
Yeah.
essentially.
Hold on.
Ancient Libyans.
Exactly.
Hold on.
The first Libyans.
Hold on.
Yeah, the first
Hold
Libyans,
on.
pre-Arab
Right.
invasion Libyans.
Who, by what designation, yes, were these people non-Negro?
By the art, works of art, and by the descriptions we have of those times. Why are you laughing?
They were like,
Because you're mentally ill.
Right,
that's
now,
why.
Thank you. I'm actually, listen, guys, you can.
Right? Hold on. Okay, it's a good answer. It's a good answer. Now,
I'll just ignore the blabbering in the background.
Now,
I'll
I'm
just listen to you for now.
forgive me, yeah, because I'm forgetting how far back this goes, yeah. But are you familiar with the ancient rock art of North Africa?
The ancient rock art?
Yeah, rock art.
Rock art?
Yes.
Ancient rock art.
He's not going to find no facts to support.
Yeah.
To
No,
support
but
what
he
you're
mentioned
saying.
art. He mentioned art, and I'm saying that
He won't find it.
according
He
to
purposely won't find it.
historians, yeah, the ancient rock art of North Africa, yeah, depicts the people out there as black.
Of course, yeah.
Right, you understand what I'm saying? Right, so my point is that when you draw these designations between Negroid and non-Negroid, as far as Africa is concerned, we have to ask the question: who made the designation, and what was the foundation for the designation that they made? Because Europeans have done a very good job of going places and defining people and telling us who was black and who wasn't black and who wasn't, and half the time they were lying. Are you familiar? Are you familiar with the Cairo Symposium, where DNA testing was done on the ancient people of the Nile Valley, and it was proven that they were African black people? Are you familiar with this?
Where exactly? In which part?
See what I'm saying? No. Now he got proof, I've got theory. Listen to the so-called Berber. Yeah? Man mentioned art, I'm talking about DNA testing, and my thing's a theory, but he's got evidence. Stop business.
The people of Egypt.
European
This
DNA.
is Malcolm Messiah Garvey. Yes, the prophet, Malcolm Messiah Garvey.
And this one, the
The
flag.
prophet, Malcolm Messiah Garvey.
The flag.
The red, black, green was the flag that was designated as a Pan-African flag in 1920 at the International Convention of African People in the World.
In which city? Where was the convention?
The convention was held in New York, and it consisted of African people from around the world.
Anyways, he wants to ask you.
What do you mean by this green?
Red for our ancestors and sacrifice, black for the people, and green for land and the prosperity of the future.
You would expect the people of Egypt to have varying degrees of, let's call it black DNA,
Yes.
black African DNA, because they're of mixed race. You have Egyptians, you have some Egyptians who are of part Turkish, Greek, and Albanian origin.
I'm gonna agree with you after.
There are some
I'm gonna
in upper
agree
Egypt
with you.
who are indeed.
I'm gonna agree with you after a particular period of time.
But it doesn't mean that all the original Egyptians were
Well, put it this way.
of one particular race.
Put it this way.
or colour.
As far as fossils are concerned, you will find the fossils of African people in various parts of the world, oldest people to have been there. As far as non-African people, you find them oldest not in Africa, but in Europe.
So you're
Yes.
suggesting that the Berbers also came from Europe?
I am suggesting, so you and I both know, because I know that the Berber issue is a complex one.
Right, yeah.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So the fact is, there are black Berbers and there are non-black Berbers. That's right. So even the identity of Berber is not one that is indigenous. It's a, you could say it's a Semitic identity in the sense of the fact that the identity of Berber makes up different people. There are Berbers who are indigenous to the continent and adopt the identity of Berber, and there are non-indigenous Berbers. Yeah? So the idea that one being a Berber makes them indigenous is a fallacy. That's a fallacy. Because we all know that say again?
Who do you classify as an indigenous Berber?
Those who are descended from the indigenous people of the land.
Who are the indigenous?
The black African people. That's it, the black African people, that's it.
People become indigenous after about 300 years in a particular place.
According to who? You see what I'm saying? No, you see, this is the point I'm trying to make here.
It's like saying the English are
This is the point I'm trying to make. This is the point I'm trying to make. This only comes up when African people, this subject only comes up, when African people decide to define who is and who is not African and to move on the liberation agenda. That's all it is.
Is it Africa right
Nobody
in
is
front of
concerned.
Is it African right in front of you?
You speak here, yes.
African right in front
Whenever you speak in this park,
Oh,
I'll
do you know
have interactive with you.
Largest country in Africa, by the way. Do you know that?
You don't have the same political issues.
The largest country in Africa, as drawn up by who? That's what I'm trying to say. This is a joke.
That's a silly
This is
argument.
a joke.
All countries in Africa
This is
were
a
drawn
joke.
up anyway.
This is a joke.
All countries.
Yeah,
all countries in Africa were drawn up. That's a silly argument.
Why is that a silly argument?
Silly argument.
Why is that a silly argument?
All countries in Africa were drawn up.
You know what
by
it is?
borders.
You've come here.
And the ba-
You've come here to
and
try.
the-
You come here to try and poke holes here in the Pan-African political ideology. You have no interest.
I just don't
You have no. And you're entitled to your disagreement.
I agree in unity.
And you're entitled to your
I want
disagreement.
unity in Africa.
And you're entitled to your disagreement.
I want unity in Africa.
And you are not in a position to designate what unity in Africa looks like.
And you're not in a position because you're not from Africa yourself. You come probably from the Caribbean or something. Or Jamaica or something. Yes.
Actually, recent DNA
A Jamaican cannot come up to me. I was in Algeria only 2 weeks ago.
You're treading on thin ice right about now. You're treading on thin ice right about now. You're treading on thin ice right about now. No, see, can you hear the arrogance though? Can you hear the arrogance?
Just joking.
No. Be careful. Because you see, can you hear the arrogance here? Because he thinks it's a joke. This is the point I'm trying to make. You see, an African would not make a joke like that. This is the point I'm trying to make. Because somebody, right? No. This is the point. I'm telling you for a fact, yeah. The arrogance is what I'm talking about. No, and the hypocrisy. To tell me, yeah. I'm an African.
mainly recent DNA.
No, please. I'm trying to show you. No, one second. I'm trying to show you the hypocrisy and the arrogance. Yeah.
Undermining his Africanness.
No.
But you have to admit, I mean, they have a different notion of Africanness.
Nice. Yakub created them. Yakub, the black scientist who created white people. He created the Egyptians.
He's a Caribbean.
Bro, I'm free from this conversation. Anyway, look. Okay, let's just quickly mention.
No, I want to make the point I was going to make. I want to make the point I was going to make. I want to make the point I was going to make. No. Before anything else takes place in the conversation.
This guy wants to ask you.
1 second. Before anything else takes place in the conversation, what he just said needs to be responded to. Yeah. It's interesting to me that as a child of Invaders, can come and tell me, yes, specifically, yes, can come and tell me,
My granddad would not be happy with that statement.
Phils,
My granddad would not be happy.
and I'm not interested in that. Phils,
Of course I am.
Phils,
So are you, man. Yeah, sorry.
Phils, and this is the point. Because he actually felt that he had the right to say what he just said a minute ago. Because he's born on the continent, and me, as a descendant of those who were kidnapped, yeah, and trafficked across the Atlantic, yeah, he feels he has the right, yeah, to tell me, you know, that I'm not an African by virtue of the fact that he was born in Africa. No, hold on. No. I want you to understand. Sorry, that your family come from. Because you was in Algeria. That's what I meant to say. Last month or whatever.
Holiday.
Right? Exactly. Now.
No, I'm supporting.
Hear what I'm saying. 1 second.
Cited evidence that
Right, 1 second. Right? There are white people in South Africa, you know, that will play the same game. Yeah, that feel. I said in South Africa. That's why I said in South Africa. That will play the same game. They said they have more of a stake to the land because they were born there, and their parents are born there. Just like you. Anyway, that's it. Just like the people that dominate Africa today are Arabs.
No. They're Amazigh,
North
bro.
Africa.
They're Amazigh, bro. Not Arabs.
The people that dominate North Africa today are Arabs.
What? What?
And the people that dominate Southern Africa are not just Dutch; they're also British and English. Yeah. But the point I'm making is that they're not indigenous. They're not indigenous.
So are you
And this is
saying
what
Berbers
happens.
are
Hold on.
Arabs?
What we just got is a primary example of what I've been saying for the whole conversation. Invaders come. They settle. They spread. They dominate. And they assume authority to tell Africans who is African and who is not African.
No, you were doing that.
You just got an example of it just now. That's what I'm saying, innit? So thank you. Thank you for proving my point. Thank you for proving my point. Thank you for proving my point. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Call North Africa Middle East.
Exactly.
And it's not the Middle East.
Exactly.
Call North Africa.
Go ahead.
Tell him to call North Africa Middle East. North Africa is not in the Middle East. The Middle East is in Southeast fucking Asia. The south of India. That's where the Middle East
We're
is.
talking in the context of Pan-Africanism.
They don't know geography. All the Arabs, they said they're in the Middle East. None of the Arabs are from the Middle East. The Middle East is south of
He knows
India.
all this. He's playing the game, right? His interest is not African unity. His interest is poking holes, yeah, in the nationalist Pan-Africanist agenda. That's what you come for. Fam, I've seen you bare times, innit? Whenever there are black people discussing black issues, this guy comes with the same argument. Yeah, I'm telling you. Watch the videos over time. It's the same argument. All the time. Yes, all the time.
I'm just staying here because this is fucking
It's your business, fam. It's your business. I'm not interested. Yeah, but you proved my point already. The argument done. If I was you, I'd walk away. You get what I'm saying? You get me? I'm right here. I'm right here. Where's my going? You get me? But now ask him if I said that to him at the very beginning of the conversation. Ask him already. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a nonsense. It's a nonsense. I don't. I don't. I don't. Because politically speaking, when we're dealing with Pan-Africanism, we're dealing with a specific set of people. And I understand, just like you're doing this conversation, your allusion to Africanness is purely strategic. It doesn't mean anything other than trying to defeat me in an argument. Yeah? That's all. That's it. Yes.
Last week we were having a conversation. I said, I don't want to refer to you as African. And you said, no, please do.
Yes.
So you identify as African,
Yes.
but then you're just saying to him that you're not.
He's not African.
Yeah, I know.
I'm an African. He isn't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm very consistent.
But you say that he brings the same argument every week. That
No,
is exactly what you do.
no, he's not a North African. The North Africans are people that are indigenous to North Africa and are off and
now
all
the
right.
Arabs, they've become indigenous to North Africa.
Before you came,
understand his argument
before you came, I made this point. The people that are in North Africa today, yeah, in places like Mauritania, in places like Libya, in places like Algeria, Morocco, there are people that there that are black, who are discriminated against, who are oppressed. The people that are dominating those at the moment know very well that those people who they're oppressing are not the same people as them. There is no Africanness that is causing them to treat them people better. Yeah, so what I'm saying is, people like this gentleman over here come and claim African identity when they come up against Pan-Africanists like me, who say actually, we want to organize black African people for the sake of African liberation.
You're quite a comedian. You need enough Africanness to be called an African.
I'm a comedian.
You're a comedian.
Thanks for the compliment.
You're a very good comedian.
Thank you for the compliment.
Why do you call it black Pan-Africanism? Why Pan-Africanism? Not black.
You're also a comedian.
They do adopt a mono identity, a national identity.
You oppressors, everywhere you go, you change people's
I'm an oppressor.
One second, each one speak. Say what it.
When it comes to certain North African countries, they
Yes.
tend to adopt that national, identity.
A mono identity, yeah? What is a mono identity?
Which is Arab.
Thank you.
Okay, can we say it's because of the language, the Arabic language? The Arabic language is what they use in parliaments, in governments, or whatnot.
Is the Arabic language indigenous to North Africa?
No, it's not.
Okay.
The language
How did
is
it get
not.
there? How did it
But
get
the
there?
people
How did
are.
it become dominant? How did it become dominant?
When Islam came,
Guys, you're
Islam?
beating a dead
And how did Islam
horse.
come? How
You're
did
beating
how
the
did Islam
dead
come? How did Islam
horse.
come? How did Islam come to North Africa?
spread the religion.
How did Islam come? How? Through what means? Through what means? Say it again. Say it again. They invaded. Okay, cool.
To spread the religion. No, to spread the religion, yeah.
They invaded to spread the
Do you know-
religion.
do you know the
Thank you.
invasion?
Thank you so much for invading to spread the religion.
Anglo-Saxons
I appreciate it.
say thank you for not bashing the white man for us. That's the first time
I've been bashing the white man all day. I'm sorry. You get me? I've been bashing the white man all day. Yeah, you missed it. Sorry. I'm sorry for you.
Well,
You didn't get to experience
are
it today.
Caucasoids, so
Can I use? No,
so
you're
they're closer to white.
you're not originally English, but you speak the English language.
Still the
right?
white.
Yeah.
So there are
As a
people-
result of what? As a result of what?
Let me finish.
Why? No, we're dealing
finish,
with the
bruv.
why. We're dealing with the why.
Man,
Let
look,
me
you
finish, bro.
Yeah, go on.
You didn't answer my question.
Oh
He
my
was
goodness.
you won't
born
prove
here.
anything to
Oh
him.
my
Is he
You
a
won't prove
European?
anything to
Let me
him like
just
that.
make a statement.
Is he
Okay,
a
that's your
European?
opinion.
Prove anything to
You're,
him.
you're,
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Is he a European? You didn't answer my question.
He might be. I
He
don't know.
was
God
born
knows.
here.
God knows,
Makes
man.
no
God knows.
sense. Your
Maybe
people
he's
came to
European.
Africa after a
I'm
lot
not
of
European.
Let me finish, man.
there.
But it's
Can I finish?
It's
Can I
honest, I'm not
finish?
European.
Respectfully, can I
I'm too
finish?
good looking to be a European. Look at his features. Look at his skin. His beautiful lips and his nose. Go on.
Anyways, yeah. You are not English.
That was a Pavlov. I'm a
You're
comedian.
not English ethnically, but you speak the English language. So this applies for North African people. They're not indigenously Arab, but they speak the Arabic language.
Yeah.
Simple.
So
That's
I'm
it.
gonna agree
So
with
I'm
you.
not indigenously
I'm
Arab,
gonna agree
but I
with you.
speak the Arabic
I'm
language
gonna
because
agree
of my
with you.
religion.
I'm gonna
Because of my
agree with you.
religion.
I'm gonna agree with you to a certain extent.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's my point.
I'm gonna agree. No, hold on. But only to a certain extent. There are non-indigenous Arab-speaking people in North Africa today
Yes.
that speak Arabic.
Yeah, which I'm
Yes,
one of them.
you may be so.
Yeah.
It still doesn't make you indigenous to Africa.
But how do you know though?
There for the same way, that there are non-indigenous people, white people in Southern Africa today that speak many languages that are not indigenous to the continent.
We know
Yeah,
where they're
hold
from.
on.
We know where they're
Exactly,
from.
and we
don't
know where them people.
We don't know where the Berbers came
Yes,
from.
we
originally.
do.
We don't
Yes,
know
we
for
do.
sure.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Because
Again,
the history has been
but now you're going back on
Greek,
now
Latin,
you're
and
going back on the
Arabic.
point that you've already made. The Berber as an identity, yes, is one that takes into consideration different groups of people. Yes, that's how it comes into being. Yeah, so there are Berbers who are indigenous to the continent. There are Berbers who are not indigenous to the continent, and
Where are they from then?
from elsewhere.
Where? Tell us where?
Some are from
Where?
Europe.
Aliens
From
from
Europe.
Europe.
There are some
Berbers are
from
not
Europe.
They
European.
might
You
have
mad?
some ancestors who were Vandals or
Yeah.
Exactly, you
Berbers are not
but you
European.
will know this already.
My mum is born in this country. She has Berber in her, Moroccan, but it would be Berber.
Your mum's Moroccan.
Right? She has Moroccan in her. Right? She's never been there. She's classified as an English woman. Yeah, okay.
Some are, but even then, when we say
She's
Coptic,
still Berber though. She's still a
that's what
Berber.
I'm trying to
she
say.
has
My point is
Portuguese
that the
and
indigenous
Spanish
people
as
are
well.
black people. That's the point I'm making.
So they crossed
Yeah?
over. It's
Yes,
not that
people
hard
mixed
to
and them
imagine.
African people over time.
Possibly.
You have to
Spain and
remember,
Morocco
there
was
was a
that
time
close
on planet
together.
Earth
They
when there was
crossed
nothing but black people.
Bullshit.
You just, your generation just fucking come.
Keep your finger to
Your
yourself.
generation. Your
I
generation
Keep
just
your finger to yourself.
Anyways,
Keep your finger
your
to
generation
yourself.
just come.
Shaka, by that definition, by what you just said, we're all
Enslave
black
people to
Africans.
survive.
Keep your finger to yourself.
Yeah.
Go away.
Again, I know.
Go away.
Gave him no
Go
wisdom.
away. Go away. You're all going to
You
black
go
people
away.
country
You go away.
and change
No,
the
you go
name.
away.
You take the literature and burn
They
it.
didn't do that.
And you write
Ukrainians
books
didn't have
with
anything to do.
false information.
Let him go
You
full
write
retard. Let him
books
go
with
full
false
retard.
information.
Russians and Ukrainians had
All of
nothing
the
to do with
history
that.
of Europe is false.
Not Russia and
Let him
Ukraine.
go full retard. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Not Russia and Ukraine.
The education that they give in most of the universities and colleges
Me,
is
I'm
false.
not, but I have links to Russia, so it's like, I
Right?
don't like to be...
False.
Very intelligent.
No,
Now,
take the African
first of all,
history,
here's some
African
fruit for thought.
literature,
Here's some
and
fruit
burn
for
it.
thought.
Let's have the food. Let's have the
Burn
food. Let's have the
it. You
food.
go to fucking South Africa and
Okay.
tell
No,
the
he
said
people
there's
what
He
to
doesn't
do.
want any food. He
That's
doesn't
why
want
some
any food.
guy
for thought.
killed a fucking South African leader. Kill him.
Sir, this is
Chop him up.
a discussion. It's not a
You
war.
believe it's strong and bad.
Calm
You
down.
believe it's strong and bad.
Calm down.
You believe it's strong and bad.
Okay.
I defend this fucking country with my...
Show your wisdom.
You don't have no, don't bother about wisdom.
Calm down.
You don't, keep your ass quiet about calm down. Keep that blood clot to yourself.
You sound like a 13-year-old.
Keep it to your blood clot self.
How old are you?
Right?
Anyways,
Keep it to
should
yourself.
we like summarize, yeah?
Sir, calm down.
Yeah,
I don't want to
you're
insult.
entitled to your
I don't
opinion.
want.
If black people
entitled
did
to
not
my
patience,
By sheer
if black people
respect
did not
to your
patience,
age.
if black people did
Sir.
not patience, we'd all
Clearly
be
you don't have
fucking
any-
dead.
you don't have any
If black
By
people did
sheer
not
respect
patience,
to your
the whites would
I'm
kill
not
out all
going
the
to
blacks
insult
if we
you,
weren't
even though
patient.
you deserve
Show
it.
me a good example.
Right?
Killing each other
Show me a
anyway.
good
Show him a
example.
good example, but over there.
Example of what?
Over there.
You're losing your cool. This gentleman is talking.
Oh, stop the bullshit. If blacks weren't patient, well, I'll show you an example. If the blacks weren't patient, if the blacks were not patient, you would kill all of us.
Kill each other
You'd
like
kill
you
all
did
the
in
blacks.
Rwanda. What happened in Rwanda? Did you
You,
kill
you,
each other?
you take our
The white
history,
man?
you
Or was
change
that
our
black and
history.
black man?
No hard feelings.
You change our history and we civilize you. We fucking civilize you.
How will you fix the situation
When you're
with
starving,
stupid shouting?
when you're starving,
How will you solve the situation
You
like
know what's
this?
interesting? You're lucky that personally, yeah, and I'm being very serious. So don't take what I'm saying as an offense or a threat, yeah. But you're lucky that people like me don't take anything that white people say offensively. Yeah, you know why? Because listen,
Classified me as white earlier. You said that.
you classified yourself as white.
That's the fault. I said in the
You
fault.
classify yourself as white.
I said in the
You
fault.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
but
saying?
whatever.
Because no, listen to me very carefully.
Classify me as
Listen,
white. I don't
listen.
really.
Listen very carefully. I'm gonna give you some advice right about now. The statement that you made to me, yeah, a while ago about the fact that I'm not African because I'm Caribbean. Don't make it ever again to another African. Yeah, don't make it ever again. Because they might not respond like how I responded. You know what I'm saying? Take my foolish advice, innit? Yeah? All right, cool. You were gonna say something.
Yeah,
right?
no. Do you know why I made that statement?
No, I'm not really interested in why you made it.
Do you know why I made that statement?
I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
Do you know why I made that?
With all due respect, I'm not interested. With all due respect, I'm not interested.
Why upset?
People,
Why
I'm
the,
not
way that
interested.
the way that you speak about white people, there are
Yes.
certain white people that turn around and they think about lamping you because
Yeah,
of the way
yeah.
that you
Let's
back
not get
white
upset.
men.
Let's not
Over
get
and
upset.
over
White
again.
people have been doing it for
Listen,
centuries.
listen. No one's gonna lap me,
It
bro.
wouldn't be nothing new.
No one's gonna lap me.
It
So
wouldn't be
relax
nothing
yourself.
new. White people have been doing it for
Bro,
centuries.
Algerians
They don't need to
were
hear
crazy,
Shaka
bro.
for them to do it. They've been doing it for centuries.
Yeah, they're on
You guys
the
say,
white
you
man's side or on
guys,
the
you comes in
black
that,
man.
You know how crazy with Algerians
they heard
are, bro?
Shaka, they said, you know what, because Shaka is saying this,
No
you know
one's gonna lap
what,
me.
now we're going to start discriminating against black people.
Chill, bro. No one's
Come
gonna
on.
lap me, bro. Relax yourself.
Come on.
No one's gonna lap me.
His job is
The reason why I made
All
that
right,
comment.
But I want to hear Pavlov's
Let's
point.
go straight to business.
Pavlov is a very intelligent white man. I want to hear what he's got to say.
Thank you.
Can I hear the intelligent white man, please?
Thank you. Here's
So
just,
relax yourself.
you
No
know,
one's
just a
gonna lap me,
possibility.
bro.
Just before my actual argument, just to give you a possibility. What if it's possible? What if at the same time that those people, those civilizations of people whose works of art were discovered, at the same time there were other ethnicities living in Africa?
It's possible.
What if there is no proof that in specific lands there were only blacks as the first people?
Yeah.
Then only that ambiguity
It's all the
makes
blacks.
the argument
All the
collapse.
blacks.
But that's
All
before
the
the
blacks.
Ambiguity.
It's all the blacks.
One second, one second.
God is jet black. God is jet black.
One second.
God is jet black. God is not a white man. God,
I
everything
agree.
on the face of the
I
earth
agree.
is black.
The black man's gone.
Nitrates.
The black man's
when you
gone.
bathe in the
man's
bathroom, the water has black in it, the residue in the bath.
Indeed.
You don't say anything white.
talking about
I agree. The black man's
Right?
gone. The black man's gone.
God is jet black. God is not a white man.
You can't
God is
challenge my
bullshit.
argument.
God is
with
jet black.
merely a hypothesis.
God is jet black.
So
All
I'm
this
saying
bullshit
you're
about Jesus
suggesting
Christ, a
something.
white man.
Is
Don't
there
fuck
any
with
evidence
that.
for what you are suggesting?
Right?
there's evidence of artifacts of the Egyptians and of the Nubians.
Everything on earth.
Roughly at the same time as there's artifacts.
You hit a white man,
of
his
the
skin
people
go
that you're talking
black.
about. Is it impossible they existed?
What time
at
are you
the same
talking
time?
about? What time are you talking
Them all
In the beginning of
water
ancient-
down everything.
ancient Egyptian
And I'm
life.
saying
They
that
destroy
all available
all-
evidence
everything.
suggests that the
If a
ancient
group of black
Egyptians,
men
the
come
original
together,
people of the Nile Valley,
they find a
are
way to
African black
destroy it.
All
Instead of
the
organizations, they destroy it.
back to different.
Yeah, to kill
Based
all the
on what?
blacks.
Show me evidence
Like in
of
America,
non-black
at the
people
moment.
existing.
Okay, you want evidence of Egyptians? Okay, you want evidence of
Yeah.
Egyptians not being black?
No. That's not what I said. There's evidence of Egyptians being not black at a certain point. Again, as a result of invasions. Yes? But I'm saying the original people, yes, of the land. Yeah, if we talk about the oldest finds of the land, are any of them not black?
Yes.
Wait, give me the evidence. I want to see it. I want to see it.
I'll tell you why.
No,
I'll tell you why.
seriously, if you can show me, I'll go research it. Seriously.
Well, okay, let me show you this picture I took of an ancient
No,
Egyptian. He was black.
No, see, I'm saying now
Okay.
you're being disingenuous because we know.
No, but listen, I
that
can
there's-
explain.
Go.
I can give you a good point.
Go on.
There is a part of Egyptian history,
Yes.
which is called, it's a very confusing name, I know, but hopefully everybody understands it. The Black Pharaohs, the time of the Black Pharaohs, which is roughly a period of 100 years,
Yes.
where Nubian pharaohs took power in ancient Egypt and became the Black Pharaohs. For a while.
Why was it called that though?
Because
What
the previous
percent-
ones were not black.
Exactly, and how did they get to be not black?
They
Because
never
of
were
invasion,
black to
of
begin with. Where's your proof that they were black? Where is your proof that they were black?
Again,
They called themselves black.
No, they didn't.
Right, hold on.
Never.
Hold on.
Egyptians never called themselves black.
hold on.
At that point, the notion of black-white didn't exist. All the notions that
Who brought
existed,
that up? Who
all the
brought
notions that existed were different peoples.
Pavlov. Yeah,
There's a very famous.
Pavlov, are you suggesting that before the 100-year period before the 100-year period of the Black Pharaohs, there were no Black Pharaohs in Egypt?
I'm suggesting it was something very rare.
You're
And that's why, and that's exactly why. Okay, you can throw some jokes around, but if you don't face the argument,
No,
it's as good as noise.
it's difficult.
It's as
It's
good as
difficult.
noise.
No.
It's as good as
It's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult.
as good as
Yeah.
noise.
Because what you're doing.
I'm dead why?
What you're doing.
I'm dead why? I'm dead why?
So Africa is a
Why
white
am I
man
dead? Why am I
country.
dead?
What you're doing.
Why am I dead? Why am I dead?
What you're doing.
What are you saying? Africa is a white man country.
I think they're Caucasians or they're
Might as well
aliens.
not
What
say
you're
it.
doing.
The aliens.
Caucasians or
The
aliens.
aliens. The fucking albinos. The fucking albinos in Ethiopia and they run out the blood
As I
clot.
mentioned, what I suggest you do is research.
The aliens.
Is research the Cairo
The
Symposium.
Europeans don't want to accept their
And
weakness.
the DNA
So
test
they
that was
create
done
false
on the ancient
philosophies
people of
like the Bible and all, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ and all that shit.
There's even
I
evidence
put
of
it
the
on
fact that in
people.
their own writing,
How can a woman
they
have
speak
a
of coming
child
from the south,
and she never had
which
sex
is
with a
Nubia,
man?
which is unequivocally
Eh?
black.
You take a man, a
Yes,
woman
they-
out of
yeah,
a man's
they-
rib.
they came-
All
they
that
came from
shit.
south.
Where do you
When
get your
all the
sources? In
animals
the
and
nation of Islam?
insects mate together.
Is that where you get your sources, bro?
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'll tell you what. We're gonna continue this, yeah, and I'm gonna bring you sources, yeah, and you can bring me sources. So you bring me sources, yeah, of the evidence of non-black people of the Nile Valley, yes, in ancient history. Yeah, go as far back as you can, and I want you to show me as ancient as you can non-black inhabitants, yes, of the Nile Valley. Yeah, and I'm gonna bring you the sources, yeah, for black African inhabitants of the Nile Valley. Yeah, fair enough.
Won't achieve anything. I'll tell you why. No, wait, I'll tell you why. Because the ambiguity in that time period is too great. You won't
I'm saying there
pinpoint-
is no ambiguity.
You will not pinpoint for sure the
I'm
exact
saying-
race of those people. That's
I'm
the
saying-
first thing.
I'm saying there
The
is no
second thing
ambiguity.
is the races that existed in those times are not the same races that exist nowadays because they have been mixing between races. Listen, do you guys honestly think that all of sub-Saharan Africans, all the blacks, all the Negroids, are exactly the same ethnicity? They're different to each other.
You yourself said Mongoloid, Caucasoid, and Negroid.
Yeah, but they are ethnicities.
So which ones are the Numidians? They're
Trying to
Caucasoid?
refine, break it down, and
They're
make it
Negroids.
look.
They're Negroid. The
Are they
Numidians,
from
yeah?
race?
Have you
You see what I'm
Oh,
saying?
wait, the Nubians.
Right?
I heard Nubians. I heard Nubians. I
Right.
swear I heard Nubians.
Right, the Nubians are Negroid.
The Nubians are
What
Negroids,
are the
yeah.
Numidians?
The Nubians are not Negroes.
What are they? You said Mongoloid, Caucasoid, and Negroid. Which one are they?
Well, I'd say they're a mix between the Negroids and the Caucasoids.
the whole of Mexico. Mexico.
Yes, you are.
Mexico is jet black enough.
Their ancestors were
Climatically,
the Numidians are Phoenicians. Were Phoenicians. Their
Numidians.
ancestors. So they're Hamitic people.
The Numidians are
From Lebanon.
Right. See, that's what I'm saying. And the thing is,
We know Hannibal. We know.
We've got a scientific African achievement.
He was a
Can you tell me anything that Africans did and what they are responsible for in history?
Hannibal was a white man.
African history.
African
Black history. Oh,
No.
That's
Do
different.
black have any history?
Black history and African history is not exactly the same.
nah,
thing.
it same thing.
See, so
Okay,
let
it's
me
Asian
rephrase
history, the same
Let
history.
me rephrase my question. Let me
So
rephrase my question because
the
you don't
black experience
understand
in the
it.
US.
Yeah?
That's part of
Listen,
African
Pan-Africanism,
history.
yes.
Right? Can you tell me anything that black people have done in history? Scientific, historical. Tell me something.
I want to be part of it.
Of course I can. I'm asking you. How can you ask me a question? I'm asking you. Name
Why are you
me
asking
one
me this
thing.
question? What does this
Name
have
me
to
one
do
thing
with
because you seem to
Can
know
you?
a
Can
lot-
you? Can you say something?
You seem to know a lot of things that Africans didn't do.
Sure, I'm
So
talking
telling
about
you-
history, which
can
is
you
something
tell me
I do know.
He's
they
asking
did
you a
do?
historical question.
Can you tell me something they did?
That's a historical
do
question. That's a historical question.
Something that they're responsible for scientifically in history.
Something like the invention of the wheel or whatever,
I'm
shit
telling
like
you
that.
The philosophy called Jesus Christ. Right? How can a man be born from a
That's why I
woman?
said to him, let him bring his
God
source
the
to the
Father.
university.
Sorry, sir. That was a genuine
Who were
question.
they?
Yeah?
You know what's funny?
That was a genuine question. See, I never answered my question.
No, but he needs to heads up. There are people here that know stuff, innit? And they're holding back at the moment, innit?
Look, you shouldn't entertain the word Negroid.
I agree. But that's what I'm asking him.
In United Nations, there's no such thing as Negroid. Black. Oh, why? Right? Like they used to call the Caribbean the West Indies. It's officially the Caribbean, not West Indies. Change a lot of names.
Okay, I don't know.
And they change a whole lot of things to suit themselves.
Does
Right?
it solve anything?
A few white men are quite
It
honest.
helps me
Who
to
face
get
the
a better
fact.
perception of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye. Nice shirt. No. Look, guys, the funny thing is, this ideology won't help you at all. This won't help you at all. Like, this will not help you. This will only make it worse.
All they're trying to do is displace black people. Move them on. Come take over everything from your belly.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen. COE. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky YG. I just listen to COE. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky YG.
In any way, shape, or form. I would suggest it's also you.